I'm privileged to represent the people of Kansas, and the people of Kansas are rightfully angry over the endless posturing and all of the rhetoric and all the finger pointing regarding yet another increase in the national debt. That's right, another increase in the debt limit. Here we are again trying to reach agreement, and I wish the President and the House leadership well in their current talks. I wish the Senate was engaged. We certainly don't need to kick the can down the road any further. We really are faced with one issue, and that is to rein in spending. A new generation in America has now come of age since the Soviet system has collapsed. It is a generation that too often, in my opinion, takes for granted the hardship and sacrifice of our forebears. It is this generation that must confront the crippling $14.3 trillion debt and climbing. We have met the enemy, and they is us. The enemy today is our unsustainable debt. That has been pointed out by speaker after speaker on both sides of the aisle. It's that old line of somehow or other we have to set our fiscal house in order, not only for us but for kids and grandkids. How many times do we have to say that? How many times do we have to give the speech? I decided no more during the TARP consideration. I voted no. I remember the time when the administration folks came in to visit with me to convince me to vote yes. I said, can you explain to me what a credit default swap is? I hadn't really heard that term before. They couldn't. They say they didn't have enough time to do that. I just decided no. I opposed the bailouts. I opposed the stimulus. I opposed Dodd-Frank. I opposed Obamacare. And I oppose any increase in the debt limit without real tangible cuts in discretionary spending and meaningful structural reform to mandatory spending. I don't challenge the intent of people who promoted all of these things, but the result has been an incredible increase in our national debt. Remember the line, did you read the bill? That when people went back home, faced up to the folks back home, and more especially with the health care bill, and all of a sudden people became aware of the regulations and all the problems. Kansans who I visit with and who call my office express shock that we have allowed to get to this point. How did we get to this point? And then if in fact we don't do anything and we kick the can down the road, what does it mean in regards to, as the senator from Iowa pointed out, the faith and optimism in our country? What does the future hold for a country that acts this way? The problem is that there's no specific plan. I know Republicans in the House are getting a lot of criticism for their plan. At least they have a plan. And the cut, cap, and balance, balance plan has received, as I said, a lot of criticism, but at least it's there. And on the other side, we just don't find anything. It's no specific plan at all. We call that in Dodge City, big hat, no cattle. Paying down the debt should be bipartisan. What would Presidents Truman and Eisenhower say of a $14.3 trillion debt? I think they'd be pretty harsh. All of them both presidents have pretty tough quotes in regards to fiscal responsibility. What we need in this chamber, what we need in Washington, is a very strong dose of common sense and a sense of purpose, as evidenced by previous presidents when they put leadership first. We have the national government, the federal government, deciding everything. Light bulbs, what you eat, rural fugitive dust when a grain truck goes down a gravel road in Kansas, and by golly, we have dust, and we have the EPA worried about it. No kidding. We have navigable farm ponds now. Farm ponds declared navigable waters. No self-respecting duck would even land there. We have regulation after regulation after regulation. I can't talk to any manufacturer, any business, anyone in Kansas where I have the privilege of speaking without somebody raising their hand and saying, Pat, what on earth are you doing back there passing all these regulations that really don't make any sense, are about to put me out of business? And my reply to him is, I'm not a you guy, I'm an us guy, and boy, I'm sure trying to do something about it. I do have a bill on that, by the way, and I encourage my colleagues across the aisle to take a look at it. I'll be talking to you personally. Since the founding of our nation, people the world over have looked to us as a beacon of light because of our freedoms. Others have watched the great American experiment with a perverse hope that it fails. We can only fail if we fail ourselves, if we fail to balance the budget and bring down the debt. America has always proven itself. We will meet any challenge and confront any enemy. The enemy before us is our own fiscal irresponsibility. It is time to stop talking. It is time to start doing. It is time for the President to come up with a specific plan. And in meeting with Republicans and Democrats in the House and the same in the Senate, let's do our duty. In some of the toughest early debates in our country, Americans were fortunate to have steady leadership in keeping a hand on the wheel. I hope members of this chamber and the current President of the United States can look to character, to leadership, to love of our country, to guide us through these very trying times. Every generation confronts a unique set of challenges. The challenge we face today is the $14.3 trillion debt and growing. I am so hopeful that we can close ranks and confront this enemy. We owe the American people and our forebears no less than victory in this fight. I yield back, Mr. President.